Well, welcome back, everybody. As I prepared for this special guest today, I thought, what are those differentiators that set someone up to earn the Chief Digital and Information Officer role, then be given the additional responsibility as Chief Customer Officer, and then getting the call for her first public board? Well, you're about to find out because today we're going to feature one of the true shining stars of our profession, Bhavani Amirthalingam. Bhavani has had an amazing 25-year career and with key technology and business executive roles across a multitude of industries and geographies. She spent 15 years at high-tech and high-growth company Worldwide Technology as their CIO and also VP of Customer Solutions and Innovation. She then led the digital transformation for Schneider Electric, a global Fortune 100 energy management company. Most recently, Bhavani has served as the EVP, Chief Customer and Technology Officer at Ameren Corporation. Along the way, she was also invited to join the first board at Core in Maine in 2022. And again, I say first because it will not be her last. Trust me on that. Bhavani also serves as a board of trustee for the St. Louis Children's Hospital with the passion for enhancing children's health for a brighter future. So in planning for Bhavani's podcast, I thought, how do we go big? How do we go big out of the gate to get this kicked off? And then it hit me. How amazing would it be to start off with a mystery question from the executive who has set the standard for making the transition from the CIO to the Chief Customer Officer? So you're all going to know who this is. She's amazing. She continues to have huge impacts on her company, her industry. So listen to the question, and we'll then hear Bhavani's response.
Bhavani, I don't know about you, but I'm always really surprised when other people are surprised that a CIO has taken on broader responsibilities. Because after all, people in other disciplines have been doing it all the time. So from your perspective, why do you think CIOs are so well positioned to take on Chief Customer Officer role? And what are the benefits of having the same executive leading both technology and the customer function?
Well, welcome, Bhavani. And who would that be?
Well, I have to say Linda Jojo.
The one and only. Exactly. Yes.
First of all, I cannot thank Linda Jojo enough for, taking the time. Because I know how busy she is, and for her to take the time and to engage, and ask that question. So just thank you, Linda, for that. And, she's just always been such a well-respected and admired, CIO who has obviously transitioned into a combination role. And so she's, the industry admires her. I've personally followed her career, and she's had, a tremendous impact on me personally as well. So it's wonderful to kick it off, Dan, with her comment. And I also just loved watching the progress. She's made amazing progress and impact that she and her teams are having overall and truly transforming the customer experience at United Airlines. So thanks for kicking us off with that. I do think broadly CIOs are stepping into roles. There's the Chief Customer Officer role, but I also think CIOs are stepping into broader operational roles. If you think of it today, more than ever before, and I think this is only going to continue to get, evolve more and more, technology is so embedded in everything that we do. Whether it's the customer experience, it's operations, it's employee experience. So I do think, CIOs have had this unique opportunity to really touch every part of the business, and they have this opportunity to understand, every aspect of it, and especially when you think about the customer experience. So I think, technology is playing a critical role in evolving customer experiences across the industries. We all know that in our daily lives, if you think about, whether it's engaging with your airlines, whether it's engaging with your, online shopping experience, retail, healthcare, financial services, your banking experience, technology has become such an integral part. And so of that customer experience. So I do think, the digital lens that a CIO has, they're bringing that to that customer experience. I think they have a unique capability to be able to go in and do that. So bringing tech and the customer experience together, to me, is just a very natural evolution that you're beginning to see in many industries.
Yeah, well said. And you and Linda are just setting the standard there. Thank you, Linda. Just she's so busy. She's got such a big job, busy season, and she was just glad to do it. She made it a priority. And she had a second question that I think is also brilliant, and I think it's on everybody's mind. So let's listen in for another great question from Linda.
Bhavani, when you look back on your career, what are those things that positioned you to get the call to become the chief customer officer and joining a public board?
That is a very good question. So Dan, I think, a couple of things. I always believe that, you just need to strive to be the very best in the role that you have today, no matter what that role is. So that bring your very best to it, put your heart and soul into it. And I do think that then that leads to the next opportunity. So make a mark, in what you have today, that builds your credibility in the long run. So that's one I think that served me really well over my last 25 years. I've had, the unique opportunity of touching customer experiences, customer solutions in all three of my roles, and I look back throughout my career, I look at my time at Worldwide, I look at my time at Schneider, and I look at my time at Ameren. I've, had this unique opportunity being able to work with customer experiences, work with customers, throughout that, you know, time frame. I think part of it is a second piece that I would talk about is what I'd say Genchi Genbutsu. I don't know if you've heard this term before, but it's really a Japanese word for really go see where the work is being done. It's the Toyota way of working, and fundamentally, it's about going to the source, understanding the facts, building consensus so you can achieve goals. And it has really served me well, whether, it's when I stepped into my job for the first time at Schneider or at Ameren, it really is going out there, doing ride-alongs with our electric and gas field folks really to see what the work looks like. So you get a view of the customer experience, you get a view of the employee experience, and it has served me really well. And then understanding, what are our key priorities, is our strategic roadmap really aligned to where, we will have the best impact for our customers. So I am a huge believer of go see where the work is being done, understand that so that you can really keep reality in the mix and with respect to spend time with your customers, spend time with the employees that impact your customers. And I think understanding the industry that helps drive a better understanding of the industry, of the company, the people, and you just end up serving better across all of your stakeholders when you do that. So I think that's the second thing I would say is served me well. And then the last thing I think that has served me well, but I feel like it's so important today more than ever before, and that is this curiosity to learn, right? In an era marked with perpetual change, right? I mean, that is probably the only thing, change is probably the only thing that's constant. And I think curiosity is the cornerstone of leadership. It is foundational, and I think it's really important to be able to drive progress in the future. So that has always been, I learned from everyone around me, including my teenagers. So it's just, I think, bringing that curiosity to what you do at work, I think is extremely important. To me, those would be probably the three things in terms of what has really helped shape me. If I had to touch on a few aspects, that whether it was moving from taking the CDIO role to the chief customer and technology officer role, or taking on a board role, or just the progress over the last 25 years. I think those are three key things that have kind of foundationally helped me grow.
Yeah, those are amazing pillars, Bhavani. And let's talk about the board stuff. You've joined a public board. I think it was April of 2022. Core in Maine, great company. At that time, their CEO Steve LeClaire said that he looked forward to the innovative and transformative energy that he knew you would bring to the team, to the mission, to the vision. And so that did not surprise me to read that, because I've experienced that energy and your ability to energize. It's just who you are. And so it's been a couple of years since you've been on the board. Bring us up to speed. Like, what's that journey been like, and how's that making you a better operational executive every day?
It's been an absolutely fantastic experience serving on the Core and Main board. For context, they are a leading specialized distributor of water, wastewater, storm drainage, and fire protection products in the US today. And, it is a fabulous management team, and it's a fantastic board, very unique combinations between a high growth environment that they continue to grow. And I connect really well with the mission of the organization as well. Really, I'm proud to be part of a team that's helping build, our country's safe and sustainable water infrastructure. So, in terms of there were a number of skills and experiences that I obviously took to the team, whether it was my customer experience in general, working in the utility space, Core and Main is selling into water utilities, right? And so understanding kind of the customer experience, the digital experience, the technology, the cybersecurity elements. But I also have spent a number of years, in my time at Worldwide in the distribution space, 15 years there, as well as the understanding how the manufacturing to distribution channel experience works at Schneider. So I've got 20 some years of just core understanding the dynamics of OEMs, distribution channel. That is really important to the business, understanding the business at Core and Main. So that has been a key part of what for me, that has helped go in and add value and understand the business more quickly. But I think, and then the flip, and I think about, I've always been on the M&A side of things on the management team when I was at Schneider. But over here, really just being part of the board and seeing the growth and understanding the M&A element from a different angle, from a different risk perspective, I think has been, a fabulous experience. Just really, I would say, if you go back to how is this making me better, I would think about it as, the strategic decision making, risk management, understanding industry trends. But really you're not in there every day from a management standpoint, and so it has been an interesting experience, really being able to make and be part of critical decisions without having the day-to-day responsibility and without being there all the time. Now I understand the term, no sin, hands out, right? Much better. And so it has just been a fabulous, experience. And I think I also have a better understanding of just, infrastructure challenges. It has reinforced the importance of customer centricity. I've always been a huge proponent of that, and it continues to reinforce that. And another very unique part that that I see there is just the culture. The culture there is so unique, and it's a critical part of the success for the organization. And so, another great reminder for me when I'm in there is just watching that amazing culture at Core and Main. So just again, I'd say it's been a fantastic experience. I'm very fortunate to be on that board, and just continue to learn from both the management team and my, board colleagues, every single day.
That's really great. And you're sitting on both sides of the boardroom table, right? You're on the board, you're presenting the board, interact with the board. And we have a lot of board members who love this podcast because we talk about these topics in ways that they really appreciate. And why do you think, or maybe let me ask the question this way, Bhavani, how would you make the case for why we need more digital savvy, data savvy, cyber savvy members of our boards?
I think I mentioned a bit before around technology being embedded in everything we do today, and I think there's this little thing called AI that everybody's hearing about now.
I've heard about this. Yeah, a little bit.
So, I think as I mentioned earlier, whether it's your customer experience, the operations, your employee experience, tech is in everything. And so it is really, in AI, is beginning to drive some of the transformation. I still think we're scratching the surface with AI. There is so much to come. How we do work, how we engage with each other, how we drive experiences, how we do business is going to dramatically change over the next 10 years. And so it's really important. And I think, the biggest difference, Dan, is also the pace at which it's going to change. When you think about electrification and when electricity was first discovered, to the steam engine, to, I think those things brought change, but brought change over a period of time. I do think the change that AI is going to drive is going to be much more rapid, and the time frame is going to be more compressed. And I say that because, you're going to see more and more technology embedded in everything we do. And so it's super important. I think about the role of a board. It is twofold. It is, are we taking advantage of, technology and innovation strategically to grow the organization? But then the second piece is, are we also making sure from a risk management standpoint, do we understand what are the cyber risks, what are the risks to the our business, to the operations, to our customers, the evolving elements around data privacy, the third party risk, fourth party risks that, enterprises have. I think it's a very, very complex topic. And, just like you would want to have someone with strong financial experience on a board, this is no different. It's a complex topic, and you need, experience and expertise in folks that understand the topic, and they can do it from both lenses on how can I leverage it for growth and how can I manage and mitigate risk, appropriately. So I think that's, to me, that would be the main reason. And data is going to be such an important element of this whole transition that we will continue to see as part of AI. Data is foundational. And so really having leaders that understand technology, digital enablement, customer experience, data, cyber, I think you have to be under the rock to not, want to have that on your board.
Yeah, so true, Bhavani. And you talk about the amount of change. I want to come back to that here in a couple of minutes because I think it's really paramount and how we prepare ourselves and our people today. But one of your, again, I just back to the whole energy, the ability to energize this. We're going so fast right now. And even people like Bhavani get tired. The batteries get worn down, right? So you're human. So on those days, what's your secret sauce? What do you do to energize yourself and your people, keep people inspired about the work they're doing?
Well, I know this is, people tend to call me the Energizer Bunny sometimes. I do have a lot of energy, and I think Dan, actually an experience I went through. I want to go back probably, gosh, it was about 8 years ago when I think I had this first. It's called the Energy Project. I don't know if you've ever engaged with this, but it was a really great experience. I've always been a go, go, go person for folks that have been around me. I run hard. I enjoy it. I'm, all in when I'm working on something. And um, this thing that I learned going through this whole energy project experience actually was when I was at Schneider, and they had this, as part of this leadership development program, when I first got exposure to this. And it has really stuck with me. There are a lot of things that we, read or listen to or, engage in workshops. But at the end of the day, it's all about what elements are you actually taking and putting to practice, and making it a habit. And I think for me, that one was very impactful. I actually luckily enough, had an opportunity to run through it again a year later as part of our executive leadership team. And so maybe it got really reinforced for me. But, they talk about doing an energy audit of yourself. And it really is that energy comes from four different, aspects. One is your physical energy. Are you eating right? Are you exercising? Are you sleeping? I mean, step back and think about it. Every every day, how we show up, that is a key element of it. About are you, how are you doing physically? And are you drinking enough water? Are you getting the right nutrition? Are you taking care of yourself? So the health, physical health, and is a really important aspect of it. The second piece is they talk about the emotional well-being. There are a number of stresses that we all carry, that impact how we show up. It could be on a particular day, it could be during a period of time, I just reflect back. I go back to like 2022 was a hard year for me. My oldest, you know, went to college for college, and I never thought that would be such a big transition for me, and so things like that that actually do impact you emotionally. Doing an audit, understanding where you are so you can actually support yourself, I think is really important. And the third one's mental energy. So, there are days where you have to, you know, zoom in and focus, and there are days where you have to zoom out and focus on problems or challenges or opportunities or things in front of you. And your mental energy gets spent differently. Some days it can be very exhausting, and so really tracking the mental aspect of it, your mental energy, I think is really important. And the last one, they termed it, spiritual, social, but really it comes back to we all have a purpose. There are things that, that are close to heart for us. Are you actually making time in your life for that? And I mean, when you look at it broadly, for me, I'm a planner. I plan my year, I plan my month, I plan my week, and my day, and I do this this habit that I put in practice actually over the last 2 years, which is really my morning, I call it the morning intent and my evening reflection. And I kind of do that even for the week and the month. And it really is what is it that I want to do today? What is the most important thing? And then, what should I be concerned about when I think about my energy audit? And then at the end of the day, how did I do? It sounds like a lot of work. It really is not. I think part of this is it's taking those few minutes to just calm your mind. This might sound counterintuitive because you're going, energies, go, go, go. No, sometimes, you really need that deliberate calmness that you can bring to yourself to have the energy you need, because you have problems that come, at you during the day, during the week. And so to be able to drive to resolution, to take a positive outlook, to be able to, drive to resolution, to bring teams together, to inspire them. Because when you have a problem in front of you, you need to be able to bring people together and help them rise above the issue. And so you can't show up with your head down, And so I think to me, tracking yourself, being self-aware, and managing your energy, doing the energy audit has actually helped me quite a bit.
That's fantastic. I really appreciate you, sharing those things. What's the expression? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? And just that looking ahead, right? Taking a few minutes, just kind of get you grounded. I find that to be a best practice of all the best leaders, all the best executives, right? Maybe they show up and it looks easy, they look calm, they look like they've, just showing up, but they've set themselves up for success. And one of your other secret sauce areas I want to unpack a little bit is around in addition to having that great energy, that ability to influence. Because at the end of the day, that's how we get stuff done, right? Even as an executive like yourself. And I think it's a differentiating skill set today. So we've got a mystery questioner who knows you very well from the inside and working closely with you. So let's listen to this and have some fun with the question.
As leaders, it's important for us to learn when and how to influence decisions. You have adopted a when to lean approach. Can you explain what that is?
That's Jen Wisnowski, isn't that Jen? Oh, she's amazing. And gosh, I'm lucky to have, had the opportunity to work with somebody as talented as Jen. So, well, I think what she's referencing. I'll give you a little bit of backdrop on that. And yes, our jobs day in and day out is all about being able to influence decisions. There's very little you can just do by yourself. Quite honestly, you can do the reflection by yourself. You can but end of the day, uh, all big outcomes come from being able to influence others. You might be able to see what good looks like, but if everybody else doesn't, you don't get anywhere. So it's something that I have learned on, reflected, through the years. It's what she's referencing as it relates to this lean approach. Lean is, I think about situations, four things. It's actually, I can't remember which exact book or podcast I picked this up from, but it has really served me very well. And I think of it, and it's in the moment thinking, right? Because a lot of times we are, you are thrown into a situation and you are working with large teams, or you're in situations that happen real time. And uh, you can't take, adaptive leadership, situational leadership. You can't take the same, style of working to every problem. And so to me, I think of the situation that's unfolding. Sometimes you have the opportunity to think ahead and you can go in very deliberate. Sometimes you have to gauge the situation, as they're unfolding in front of you. But I think of it as, like the younger me always had this opportunity. Like I'm a very driven person. I'm like, roll up your sleeves, get involved, lean in, and let's problem solve together. And I think there are certain situations that need it. And so I ask myself, do I need to lean in, roll up my sleeves, understand the details, help the team, and let's solve together? And there are times where I look at it and go, or do I need to really lean back? And what I mean by that is there are situations where I just need to lean back and I think about, they might need more of a data, I need to get the data, I need to understand the data. And, you know, certain situations need more data-driven decision making. And so I think of those as, do I lean in? Do I lean back? And sometimes then I just have to lean with. They're going to solve it themselves. They need the support. So it's more people oriented, right? That I actually go in and lean with the person or the team, but I don't really need to go solve it for them. They just need me to support them through it. And then the last one is don't lean at all, because there are some times where they can go solve it on their own, or you really need to remove yourself from the situation. You need to really reflect. You need to take the time. And so, again, it's more real-time decision making. Sometimes I do think about it ahead of time and say, okay, this particular situation, you know what? I'm not going to lean in. I need more data to truly understand this and work with the team, help the team. So it is something that, again, there's an art and science to it, but I do feel that then helps influence, the decision being made. People are more involved in the problem solving, when you're not in there trying to solve all problems, you just can't scale. And so as a leader, I mean, it's just like everything else. It's one that I continue to work on and tweak, as I go. You don't ever get any of these perfect all the time. And so that's what Jen's referencing, because they, the teams will sometimes even joke about it, like, oh, she's leaning in, oh no, she's leaning back.
You've just replaced one of my favorite quotes from Winston Churchill. I'm going to use yours now with your permission. So, and I'll always quote you, but I always love his quote that says about courage. Courage is knowing when to stand up and speak. Courage is knowing to sit down and listen. You've taken that to a whole different level, so it's knowing to lean in, lean back, lean with, or don't lean at all. It's brilliant. Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you, Jen. And, Jen was, for a time, she was your chief of staff, which is one of my favorite all-time roles. There are a number of executives today that were in that role and just so much exposure. I know she's doing amazing things now, but she had a second question for you that I wanted to unpack, just in terms of how you're intentional about the team that you build around you. So let's listen into Jen number 2.
You have a great lead team with a diverse set of skills. How do you make talent decisions to put leaders in the right seat on the bus and continue to grow them?
I personally, Dan, think that's the most important part of my job, is to make sure that we have strong teams, strong leaders, that you find the talent and, help people believe in themselves more than they probably did, and so I really think that's the most important role of a leader. And the people around me are always way smarter than me. They're way more capable than me. And I think it's about helping folks. And, you need a diverse set of skills. And I'm a huge believer of you don't need, everybody on a leadership team or a team that's solving a business outcome, because at the end of the day, you're solving a business outcome with technology. Every team needs to have people with diverse experiences and skill sets, perspectives, approaches. That makes it a much stronger team. And so I think it's important to have people that come from different backgrounds. Jen herself was not born and raised in the technology organization, and so she comes with varying experiences, a lot of financial experience. She's done some mergers and acquisition work. She's worked in the energy space in multiple organizations. And so really taking someone that has, diverse set of skills, and then, she now runs a data and analytics organization. Who would have thought, 6 years ago? So I think it's really important to take people and not just look at them for the skills that they have today or the work they've done so far, but really look at them for the potential that they can, that they bring and what they could be doing in the future and helping build that. So part of this is the other thing I talk about is building elasticity, right? Like we all need to stretch ourselves a bit, obviously to make sure we don't break, but you have to stretch yourself a bit to learn new skills and to continue to grow. And so how do you help your leaders do that? I think is a really important piece as well. So I always think about what should it look like that you can transition and move on to doing other things, and what are the skills you need to build. What does the operating model look like in the future, and what skills do you need to build for the people that you have there? And that's at all levels, not just the leadership team, but I think it's at all levels, finding folks that you can help kind of bring them to the next level. I think is super important. And it's a combination of things. Sometimes you might find a leader or an individual that has spent their entire career at that organization. And so maybe what they need is, bring as part of their development plan, help them build a network of individuals and peer groups across other organizations, across the industry, cross industry, maybe get them in a formal, learning development program that, helps them with some of that. And then you might have someone that you brought in from the outside that has all this amazing experience, but might not have deep industry expertise. And so really getting them, and may not have kind of the social capital within the organization. And so helping in their development plan, really being very deliberate about, how do you help them build that social capital and understanding of the business, understanding of the industry, so that they can bring greater context and impact to the work that they will do, for the organization. So I think really I think development's not a one size fits all. It's, helping people believe more in themselves, helping them stretch, more than where they are with responsibilities, trusting them with it. And I'm a huge believer of this, and I say this to the teams all the time, get 8 out of 10 right, because sometimes we are so hard on ourselves and you want to, get things perfect all the time. It never happens. And if you're getting 10 out of 10 right, you're not taking enough risk and you're not going fast enough. And so I think it's important, for you as a leader to show grace, but for helping people show grace to themselves, that it's okay, you're going to have a misstep here and there. That's all right, and that's how you learn. That's how you become better. So those are probably some things that, I think are important. And then, I think about this whole right seat on the bus, I think that is super important, because sometimes, you might have someone that's in a particular role. And I've seen this happen throughout my career, where you'd have one leader that will say, have XYZ, this person is just not performing, maybe we need to coach them out. And you sit down, you kind of work through it with that leader, through it with that individual. And it might really just be a situation of not the right seat on the bus. So before you determine, it's not the right bus, just figure out if you actually, what is this person's strengths, and are they really in the right role? And if you moved it, would that actually help truly, bring the best out of this individual. So I think it's important to think about it in those terms as well when you're moving people. I think the other thing I think as we look at the world ahead of us and think about how much technology is continuing to change businesses, industries, how we work, I do think you need technology leaders in different parts of the business. So look at how can you create this environment where you have people from different teams, different operational teams, people in finance or people in operations moving to tech and people in tech moving into those roles in operations, like driving that more in a very thoughtful way, not just moving people around, but really helping them with that transition and supporting them. You're going to create just a greater quality of talent that can bring bigger impact to the business when you do that.
Well, you're always investing in your people too to help them, even when they're the right seat, to continue to build that muscle. And a stat that I always like to quote: the average age of a first-time leader manager is 27. Okay, this is a multi-year study, tens of thousands of companies. The average age of somebody getting their first formal leadership development is 46. A 19-year gap, Bhavani. And I know you don't let that happen. When we launched our TechLX leadership program, you had over 20 people go through that program because you're investing in people. And so you're someone that, it's not just words. I mean, you actually invest in people. And here on the show, on the podcast, we have the scholarship, right? Which is so cool. I'm just so just feel so blessed to be able to award $150,000 of scholarships each year. And so, as our guest, you have a chance to gift a seat in that program to a nonprofit, to a STEM nonprofit that you are part of or you support. So, anybody come to mind, Bhavani?
Wow, Dan, there are so many great ones. I have to pick one. I think I'll probably go with the Empower. I do think they really are making such a huge difference in bringing, and in educating, training, and bringing folks that otherwise would not have these opportunities. And so, if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick Empower.
That is a multi-time recipient because of the great work they're doing. So thank you for that. And I know they're very appreciative, and they've got a national presence, they have local presence, and doing great work. So no, that's fantastic. And there's a special person who brought us together a while back, and the person who kind of really teed up this TechLX program in St. Louis. We're launching our 14th cohort, 250 graduates. It's just been amazing. And so I really wanted to she's a good friend of yours. You've been on her podcast too, so you probably know who I'm talking about now with all that. But I want to have her jump on and ask a question because she knows you so well. So listen in.
Hi, Bhavani. Here's a question for you. You talk about the 3 C's of leadership: compassion, courage, and curiosity. What aspect of culture do you believe is the most difficult to maintain in today's world, and why?
That's Lisa. Oh, she is she's an amazing person. I'll start there. Tremendous leader. Look at what she's done, with the organization, and I just love what she's doing in terms of impact on the region and all of that. So just she is a wonderful human being and a great friend. So thank you for that question, Lisa. Yes, I have actually been on her podcast, and we've had the opportunity to talk about the 3 C's, so which is why she brings it. One of them I talked about today, which is curiosity. And, the curiosity to learn, I think, has been very foundational for who I am. And then the other thing I always talk about is compassion and courage go hand in hand. And, a lot of times we have to make difficult decisions, or, you have to have difficult conversations and different things that you have to deal with. And you have to have the courage to go do that. And but that doesn't mean you forget compassion. I think the difference between being rigorous and being ruthless, to me is the difference of saying I'm being courageous, but not having compassion, in what you do. And so I think courage and compassion go hand in hand. A lot of times people, misunderstand that. Sometimes people have all the compassion, and then don't have the courage to do the right thing. I think they need to go hand in hand, so for me, I think about the human element comes first. You start with compassion, you start with empathy. Everyone is dealing with something in their lives. And so I think it's really important, whether it's in your professional life, your personal life, as you're interacting, understanding where that person is, I think is super important. And, we all have to navigate through more complexity every single day. There's just so much ambiguity, so much complexity, and so much opportunity. And opportunities favor those that are going to be courageous. I sometimes think about, was I really courageous or was I just naive, when I picked up at 23 and just decided I'm moving to the United States and land up in New York City. I think, it is part of being able to say, I am going to get myself out of what may be a comfort state right now. I'm going to have the courage to go disrupt myself, and that's what's going to make me better for the next stage of my life or the next phase. And so I think it's really important to have compassion, have courage, but constant be humble. And being humble comes from that curiosity to learn. I learn every day from my 15-year-old. I learn every day from, so it's not about whether it's the 23-year-old that's, come out of college and is an intern, or it's, someone that's, 60 and has all this experience and expertise. You can learn from everyone. And I think bringing that curiosity to what you do is super important. And then, going back to our question on what aspect of culture do you believe is the most difficult to maintain in today's world and why? I think true collaboration is really important. And no outcomes get accomplished, without that. And I think the reason I bring that up as the most difficult to maintain in today's world is, there's a lot happening in today's world. We have hybrid work environments, which I do believe is how the world is going to continue to, work and evolve. And so there are a lot of things that have changed in the last several years, and it's only the change is going to only continue to be there. So making sure you're still, working together effectively, I think is an important, very important aspect of culture. Now, a lot of times people might think working together means I have to physically come together. No, you know, sometimes people think collaborating means everybody's in harmony. No, in everybody's in agreement. No. And, if you have someone that is actually challenging maybe a certain situation or the status quo or whatever it is, perhaps stepping back and understanding, okay, where are they coming from? What is the purpose? What's the intent? Versus just looking at it saying, oh, that's, a disruptor. I think it really is it is a complex topic. And truly creating that culture of collaboration and sustaining a culture of collaboration is not an easy undertaking with the amount of change that we have, coming at us. So I do think that's super important simply because of the amount of change, that we will continue to see.
Yeah, and on that topic, the courage topic. I do a lot of homework. I do a lot of prep for the podcast, and you were actually interviewed for a great book titled, I've got it right here, "The Courage to Advance: Real Life Resilience from the World's Most Successful Women in Business." And for those on video, let me just hold it up so you can see it. Bhavani's in there. Other good friends, Janine Charlton, Coco Brown are in there. So I reached out there were two authors, Lisa Pent and then Bonnie Hageman. So I've got Bonnie teed up with a question. So I'd love to have you get to know you better, Bhavani, through this question.
As a person from India, how have you incorporated your parents and your background from India into your career, maybe in a way that people from the United States wouldn't do? Who are the men in your life who have been champions, and how did they champion your career?
Wow. First of all, I mean, she is, Bonnie's amazing. So tremendous respect for her. And so thank you for that question, Bonnie, and thank you for reaching out to her, Dan. I loved and enjoyed, working with her as she was writing her book. That's a tricky question. I don't know about the part when it says maybe, where she says maybe in a way that people from the US wouldn't do it. We typically don't like to stereotype anyone based on, where they're from, etc. But maybe I can take it a bit more broadly and say, what values or how has my, upbringing impacted me as a person. I think my dad has played I've been very fortunate. I have a wonderful family. My parents have been instrumental, in just who I am today, the opportunities I've had. And I have one sibling, he's 4 years older to me. I've always looked up to him. He's been a tremendous support, part of my support system throughout my life, lives in Chicago, still, one of my brother is still one of my best friends. So, I've been very fortunate for the family that I've had, that has played an instrumental role in kind of, giving me that foundational stability. But even more importantly, my dad has played a significant role in just helping me think bigger, imagine bigger, having the courage to go do things that are different. I just, he lost his sister right before I was born, unfortunately to spousal abuse. And so he made it such an important part of my upbringing to make sure that I would be independent, that I would think for myself, and that, I remember him telling me when I was very, very young that, don't let anyone tell you that you can't do, what you truly believe in. And, it did come back and bite him multiple times later in life when I would be like, Dad, I want to do this. And he's like, no, I don't think so. And I'm like, well, you told me that, I should really follow my passion. And, but he has supported me every step of the way, and I think that has been a really important part of how it shaped my career. And quite honestly, it is, both my parents have played an instrumental role in how I shaped my children's lives, today. And they have, I don't know, sacrificed the right word, but they have always been there for me, Dan. And there is no way I could have been in the go mode that I've been in without the support system that they have brought for me. So I think, this ability to think beyond what is there today in front of me, to imagine bigger, to be able to just go, talk about the courage, but, to actually just go after it and with passion and drive. And I think came a lot from my just, the support system and what my, dad helped me believe I could do. I will tell you that the other part that I think that's come hand in hand is, they've always said he's, a big believer of your work should tell, don't focus on building a resume, focus on doing what you do, and your resume builds based off of that, right? And I think it is something that I foundationally believe in. That's why I said earlier when you asked, strive to be the best in what you're doing. Whatever it is that you do, go all in, invest yourself, learn, and continue to become better at what it is that you're doing. And I think that, if it's, humility is a, it's just the cultural thing too, it's a little bit, it's frowned upon if you really go in and, you have to like go in and say, I'm X, Y, or Z. And, you really, my mom truly probably doesn't have any understanding of what I do. And quite honestly, doesn't care. At the end of the day, as far as she's concerned, I am her child and I am a mother and I am and so I think that's very humbling in terms of just who you are and how you show up. So I think those are all aspects that I try to take into every day, into every aspect of my life. And um, maybe how it's been shaped in terms of who I've become today.
We're going to have those chief energizer officers in our life and those chief humility officers in our life, right? To keep it real. I love that. Last question for you, Bhavani. This has been phenomenal. In Bonnie's book, there's a quote, and you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but I want to really kind of go deeper on this. And you said, this is the slowest it's ever going to be. You're talking about the pace of change is just going to keep accelerating. Decide how you will build the DNA of change, the ability to anticipate inside you and adapt inside you. So take us out with that, because that's such a big topic that people need to really pay attention to.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think it is, you just look back in the last 20, 25 years, and I think about my own career, and I've seen the amount of change, that has come our way. And I do think this thing about adaptability, adaptive leadership, adaptability at every level, I think is going to be key. Uh, I think we will see more change in the next 5 years than I have probably seen in the last 25 years of my career. And I sincerely mean that when I say that. Um, Not just because of, hey, there's this hype around AI. It's not that. It's just the speed at which, technology is going to change different aspects of our life, I think is going to be rapid. And there's, it's not only the technology element of it, but there's so much happening in the world. It's the geopolitics, it is, the environment and what we need to do in terms of the good for the long run for generations to come. And, the work that how all of these different things need to come together, and adaptability, adaptive leadership, is going to be extremely important. And so I think for those, if I think about what what are the recommendations or things for our listeners, I think that I can add on to I would say curiosity to learn, as I already have said a few times, I think is so important. So approach, a be that learner every single day in whatever it is that you go, and so make that part of your. I don't think staying stagnant is an option. you know um, I heard this comment the other day that I thought just really resonated with me, as it relates to AI. But if you take this to any aspect, there was this comment that was, you think about AI taking away jobs, and what the comment was, AI is not going to take away all jobs. AI is going to take away the jobs of the folks that don't learn how to use AI. And I thought that was a very profound statement. And you can actually take that to every aspect of life in terms of what is going to change. So it's not about not having conviction on topics, but it's about making sure, if you take it outside of tech and into other aspects of our life, it's important to have opinions and convictions, but it's even more important to listen to other perspectives and to listen and observe how things are changing in a way and with the intent that you're going to allow it to influence your conviction and opinion. Because there's a little nuance to it, but it's a really important nuance. I have to remind myself, right? And because in those, even when it's the teenager interaction that you have, you're listening, but you have to remind myself and ask, am I truly listening? Not just because I want to be that I'm showing my child that I'm listening, but am I truly listening to allow for this perspective to influence my opinion and my thinking? And I think I bring that up because that goes hand in hand with the curiosity to learn as the world around us changes and the problems around us get more and more complex with very extreme opinions on topics. And I think it's really important for you to be grounded as a leader, to be able to listen not only with empathy, but also in a fashion where you're allowing for things to be able to influence your opinion. Because a lot of times I will see, even the best of leaders that believe that they, are great listeners. Well, you have such strong opinions on a certain topic, or that you've already been so influenced that you are not listening to allow for your opinion to be influenced or impacted. So I think it's a very important self-awareness skill that you can build as a leader. I think that's going to be extremely important, because the problems of the future are going to be more and more complex. They're not going to be black and white.
Just pure gold. Just pure gold. I am so excited for our audience to be able to have this ability to hear from you, learn from you, Bhavani. All this is so important because, as you say, the pace of change, the problems we're going to solve tomorrow are going to be things we probably haven't seen yesterday. And so all these things matter that you talk about. So, I just want to reiterate my appreciation for you and what you do in our industry, your humility, your humanity, and just your warmth. Chief Customer Officer, Chief Technology Officer. I predict future Chief Executive Officer. I'm going to say it right here, right now. So keep up the great work. We appreciate you so much. And thank you in advance, because we're going to spend some more time. You made a reference to AI earlier. We're going to talk about the data and AI story and your perspective on that, your success there. So, Bhavani, thank you so much for making time for this. It's been a blast, as always.
Dan, thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share some of this. And I almost forgot this was like a podcast recording. I've just been having a conversation with you. So it's been
I love it.
interesting.
I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, there you go, everybody. We're going to leave it right there. And until next time, y'all stay well. Bye, Hausen.
You've been listening to Tech Whisperers, inside the playbook of the best digital leaders, a Woolette and Associates podcast. Keep connected with us by subscribing to the show in your favorite podcast player. If you like what you've heard, please rate the show, as this helps us connect the world's best digital leaders with those who aspire to learn, grow, and thrive in this amazing profession. Thanks for listening. Until next time.